today I'm going to show you how I made a card with the Mixed Florals Stamp Set Bundle. This is one of the online exclusive items from Stampin' Up's online store, and it's one that you can get right now. And I see that my camera is, of course, all sorts of crazily crooked here, so trying to move it over and around a little bit. Because yeah, YouTube has changed, of course, the way you go live, and you like pretty much push the button and stick the phone in the holder and as it's going live. So it's a little more frantic than it used to be, but I'm kind of getting it figured out. So, all right. Anyway, so this is the card we're going to be making today, and it's made with the beautiful Mixed Floral Stamp Set Bundle. This is one of my favorite new online exclusive items, and it's actually part of a whole suite of products called the Mixed Media Florals suite. And the suite actually includes 2 bundles, a pack of designer series paper, the embellishments, and I know I'm missing something else. I feel like there's one other thing that's in the bundle or in the suite. But anyway, it's a bunch of products and it's beautiful, and everybody should just get it because you're going to love it. So, hey, Judy and Sally and Carol and Pam and Danette and Carol, thanks for hopping in today. I appreciate you being here. So again, I made this card with the product suite. Well, most of the items for the product suite. A couple things I didn't use. But so this is a mixed floral stamp set. If you haven't seen it yet, it has some beautiful floral images, and they're actually much larger than they appear on the front of the stamp case. This is only like 75% of the size of them. And then there are coordinating dies. The dies show you a little bit better how big the images are. So this is the flower that we're going to be using today. This is the three tulip image. This is a beautiful accessory die, and we are using that one today. And there are actually 6 little ladybug dies in here, and you can stamp each ladybug twice and cut it out with a little die, so you can do a total of 6 little ladybugs pretty quickly. And then there's this die that cuts out there's a stamp that's got just flowers on it. This one cuts out your kind of stem looking image. I think that's it. But again, it's a beautiful stamp set bundle, and it is part of the Mixed Media Florals suite. So got that. And then also part of the suite is the Mixed Labels bundle. I actually did not use the bundle. I just used the stamp set, and I'm using one of the sentiments from it. And I used a different die to cut it because the banner die that's in there isn't big enough for the sentiment that I was using. So we're just using a different one. So that's all. Hey, Faith, thanks for hopping in, and Barbara as well. I don't know if I said hello to you already, Barbara, but if not, hello. All right. The die that I did use to cut my sentiment is from the Wild Ferns dies, and I just used this middle-sized kind of dotted rectangle die. There are lots of other dies in the Stampin' Up sets that will cut that sentiment, but this one fits around it really nicely and was the size I wanted for my card, so that's why I went with this one. And then one other thing that I did use on this, I don't know if you caught it, but I used the Everyday Arches dies, and this is also one of the online exclusive items that's available now from Stampin' Up. And I used the second from the largest die and just cut out the kind of arched designer series paper on the background. So I'll talk you through each of the papers and everything that I used, colors and all that good stuff as we're making the card. So, all right, a couple things. Again, just chatting about the online exclusives and making sure that you take a look at those every time you're out in the Stampin' Up online store, because items kind of come and go from there, and they're available while they're available, and then they're not anymore. Some of the things stick around and restock, some of the things don't. I know right now the heart dies are on back order. They are supposed to be back next week, so hopefully that'll be like just in the nick of time if you need them for Valentine's Day and you want to get them. But again, this is just a small sampling of some of the products that are available in the Stampin' Up online store in the online exclusive section. So to find that, just go to stampinup.com, and there's a little menu on the upper left. Click on the menu button and then click on online exclusives, and you'll go right to the page with all the online exclusives. And there are a lot of them. So lots and lots of things. There are things from Christmas. There's some fall things. Again, all the new spring items, the Valentine's Day suite. So lots of good stuff out there. Make sure you're taking a peek at that every time you go out to the online store. All right, my original card was a 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2 across the top, because I prefer the top fold cards. I know that not everyone does, so I usually try to show you if I've got a card base cut up that I can use. That it will also work with your standard book fold card, which is what we're going to be doing today. So this is a piece of boho blue cardstock that I have cut to 5.5 by 8.5 and scored it at 4.25 right down the middle. So it's just a standard book fold card base, and I've got a little bit of the mixed media florals designer series paper, which is part of that same suite from the mixed media florals. So the images match it very nicely, and we're just going to cover the entire card front. Flip side of it, there are some black and white patterns in that pack of paper. There are some with lots of beautiful colors, so you can kind of take your pick on which one you like best and use that. So I've got multi-purpose liquid glue that we're going to be using here to adhere the designer series paper to the card front. Designer series paper is cut to about 4.25 by 5.5, and so it should cover the entire card front as long as I've cut everything correctly, which hopefully I did, and as long as I get it stuck on here straight, which is always a little bit of a challenge. But multi-purpose liquid glue and I are not always friends, but I do like to use it for things like this because it does give me just a little bit of wiggle time in the event that I get something stuck on not quite straight. So, hey, Mary Ellen, thanks for joining from Montana. I appreciate you being here. All right, so that's card front. This is a piece of the Country Woods Designer Series paper that I cut with, again, I threw the dies over here. The second largest arch die from the Everyday Arches dies. And again, this is one of the online exclusive items. It is part of a bundle. It's actually part of a suite and a bundle. So if you want to get the whole suite, want to get the bundle, you certainly can. If you just love the dies, I've been using these dies like crazy. They're the perfect size for so many things, and they make nice little backgrounds. So if you don't love the rest of it, definitely grab the dies because you're going to love those. So again, it's cut a piece of Country Woods Designer Series paper that I cut with the second largest of the Everyday Arches dies. I was going to call them Everyday Details, and I knew that was not right. Everyday Arches dies, and I'm just using my little half Stampin' dimensionals, putting quite a few on the back of the panel of Designer Series paper, just because Designer Series paper is sometimes a little, well, it's not sometimes, it's a little weaker than standard cardstock is, and I just like to reinforce it with a few extra Stampin' dimensionals that I wouldn't necessarily normally use if I were just sticking cardstock together. So the Designer Series papers, so it's just a little thinner, a little wimpier, but it's beautiful, so definitely worth it. Then I'm just going to go ahead and try to stick this on here somewhat centered top to bottom and side to side with the Stampin' dimensionals. All right. Next thing I did is I did this die cutting ahead of time, but I'll show you which die I used. This is the die from the Mixed Florals dies. And again, it's part of the bundle and part of the suite that I'm using today. And it cuts really nicely, and it cuts this beautiful kind of delicate backgroundy die cut where it's got just some leaves and branches on it. This is cut from Granny Apple Green cardstock. And I wanted to kind of, since the front of since the Designer Series paper had a little bit darker shades of green in it, I actually wanted to kind of tone down the Granny Apple Green a little bit. So I just took Mossy Meadow ink and a blending brush and just kind of ran Mossy Meadow ink over the top of the die cut. And I didn't like cover everything completely. I just kind of wanted to take a little bit of the brightness off of the Granny Apple Green, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to be, I thought about actually putting Mossy Meadow cardstock underneath it, but I was afraid that would get to be too dark. So I just sort of did a compromise and went with the lighter cardstock, and I added a little bit of the darker ink to it. So if you don't like that look and prefer the darker cardstock, you can certainly use Mossy Meadow or Old Olive. That Designer Series paper's got several shades of green in it. So I'm just adding a little Mossy Meadow ink to the die cut. Just to, like I said, just to take some of the brightness out of it. That was all that I really wanted. I didn't really want it to be too dark, but didn't want it to be too bright either. So, all right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to adhere this to the card front, and I'm actually going to use a little bit of Stampin' Seal, and hopefully I've got a little bit left in this one. If not, I've got another one ready to go here. I'm just going to take Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to sort of stick it about right there, and just a small little piece is all I really need, and is basically just to hold this in place until I get my layer put on over the top of it. and I didn't want to liquid glue. Like I said, liquid glue and I are not the best of friends. I want to make sure this is staying on the top of the, staying underneath the top of the card base, if that makes sense. So liquid glue and I are not the best of friends. So, and particularly with this kind of a delicate die cut, I did not want to try to use liquid glue on it because I knew I would have it squishing everywhere. And I knew I was going to layer over the top of it. So I just basically put enough adhesive on it to hold it in place until I got the flowers layered over the top of it. And the flowers that I'm layering over the top will hold this in place, so I don't need to worry about it flying off the card or anything like that. All right, got some basic white cardstock, and we've got the large floral image from the mixed Florals die or stamp set, and I've got Tuxedo Black Memento ink. So hey, Karen, no worries. Thanks for hopping in, and glad that you're able to join and sneaking in from work. All right. So again, just inking this up with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And this is actually a modified ink pad that one of my team members sent me. He actually took one of the craft white ink pads because it comes uninked, and he just inked it up with a bunch of Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and it stamps beautifully. So if you haven't tried it yet, I recommend it. I actually am really liking it. I haven't thrown out my old Tuxedo Black Memento ink, but I haven't used it since I got this one. I'm really liking it. So he said he got the idea from another demonstrator that he saw using it out on one of her videos. And so he gave it a try and liked it. So he decided he'd make one for me and sent it along too, which, yay. All right. Closing that up before I stick my fingers in it. And then we're going to grab some Stampin' Blends markers. We've got Petal Pink, Flirty Flamingo, Daffodil Delight, Mossy Meadow, and then Poppy Parade are the colors that we're going to be using today. So I'm going to start with the Poppy Parade, and we're just going to color in all of those little flowers that are here on the background. And they really don't take too long to color in, just because it's kind of not a really detailed image. It's more of an artsy image. So you don't need to spend a ton of time coloring and blending and making sure that everything is perfectly filled in and all that sort of thing, because it's kind of designed to look a little messy, which I know is hard. Well, it's hard for me. I'm not always very good at being able to say it's okay to go out of the lines or to not color everything in perfectly. I just sort of put the color on and then walk away on this one because it's a really easy oh, I guess while I'm doing that, I might as well color in my little ladybugs as well. And they're super easy to color in, she says optimistically before she colors them all in. But it's basically just coloring in the wings on those. And you can kind of be a little messy about it because the black, you can't tell if you accidentally color over the top of that. So you don't need to worry about avoiding the little spots or anything like that on them. All right, going to come back in with the dark Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends marker. And I'm just going to kind of make what I will call like a little half moon shape on each of these little flowers. It just adds a little bit of a layer of color on it without spending any significant time ink blending, which if you love ink blending and want to do that, you certainly can spend more time than I do on it. But I'm usually trying to hurry and just get the card done. So, so I don't usually tend to spend a ton of time ink blending. Also adding a little bit of dark Poppy Parade to each of my little ladybugs. And those I am actually going to come back and do a little bit of blending here on, not a ton. Again, just sort of making it so that there's not a harsh line between the two, the light and the dark on the ladybugs. And that is it for my fantastic blending with Poppy Parade. And I've already got Poppy Parade on my finger. All right, we're going to use light and dark Mossy Meadow to color in my leaves and branches on this one. And again, I'm pretty sure it's Old Olive, Poppy Parade, and Granny Apple Green, and there might be even one other green in the Designer Series paper. So that is where all the colors are coming from. But the panel of paper that I used, I thought it looked most like Mossy Meadow, so that was why I went with that for my color on my leaves. If you want them to be a little lighter, you can certainly use Granny Apple Green, Old Olive, or you can use a combination of those markers. But for my purposes and for simplicity's sake, I just kept it easy and just used Mossy Meadow. And again, just coloring in the leaves and the stems as we go here. And a little bit down this stem. All right. And then we're just going to come in and add just a little touch of dark mossy meadow on some of the little leaves here and stems as well. Probably put a little bit under there, a little bit along the edges, a little bit underneath the flower in the area that's kind of underneath the leaves. Maybe we'll put a little dark under there since there's probably a shadow underneath that leaf. A little bit of dark along the edges here. And go ahead and put a little bit here. And I think we'll call that good. And I'm going to come back in here with my dark mossy meadow. And again, just kind of blend the edges together so that there's not a harsh line. That's the main thing that I'm trying to do here. Just make sure there's not a real harsh line. You can color over it as much or as little as you want to. And there we go. Pull in a little bit of the ink down here. And I see I missed a little spot, so just filling that in with the light. And doing a little bit here on the bottom two leaves, and we're going to be all done with the mossy meadow marker. All right, the flowers, I kind of had a little bit of fun coloring those. Let me color in the flower centers first. And I think these are the cone flowers, I think is what these are called. And I'm sure that this is probably not an appropriate color scheme for them, but it worked with the colors that I wanted to use, and I thought they looked pretty, so I went with it. This is light Daffodil Delight that I'm using to color in the flower center here. And then we're going to take a little dark Daffodil Delight in the area that's got the little polka dotty looking pieces on it. We're coloring over that with dark Daffodil Delight. And then I'm just going to do a little blending together here to make it so it's not quite such a harsh line on the edges. And I love Stampin' Blends, in case you couldn't tell, because they make me feel like I really know how to color when really I don't. So, all right, on the larger flowers, I'm going to start with light Flirty Flamingo. And we're just going to color up here. And it's going to look a little weird and not very pretty initially. But if you like the way what they look like on my card, give it a second and I'll show you what I did. So just coloring in again, it's going to look a little odd. And I'm just using the light Flirty Flamingo. I actually did not use the dark at all on this flower. So I'm just coloring in, I don't know, about a third to a half of the flower petal with the Flirty Flamingo, and then just coloring it in right around the little flower center as well, making sure that's all colored in. We'll get that out of the way. So, in fact, I do, Karen. So my husband and I actually just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, which I'm not going to tell you, I was like 5 when I got married because, I'm only 35 now. So, so yes, and he got me a new ring for our anniversary. So, all right, now I'm taking light Petal Pink Stampin' Blends marker, and I'm just kind of scratching, coloring over the top of the Flirty Flamingo and pulling that color down a little bit. There we go. Hey, Daryl, thanks for hopping in. Oh, and thanks, Karen. He picked it out all by himself. So I was like, wow, that's, yeah, very shiny. So, and it's beautiful, actually. I was really happy with the way it turned out. And he and actually my older daughter, Anna, went together to the jewelry store and they picked out what they were going to get and brought it home. So, so there you go. All right. Well, actually, they had to have it made first, and then he brought it home. So, all right. So, got my light Petal Pink that I'm coloring over the top of everything with. He did do a pretty good job, Carol. I will say. It was a little surprising when he brought it home. It was a little bigger than what I was expecting. So, anyway. But I've got dark Petal Pink that I'm coloring and kind of mixing the two together here. So that is what I'm using to color in between the Flirty Flamingo and the light Petal Pink. So that is how, I've already got ink on the edge of my finger. Thankfully, I don't think it ended up anywhere else. So that's how I did it. It's basically just started out with the Flirty Flamingo light around the edges, colored over everything with the light Petal Pink, and then came back in and took a little bit of the dark Petal Pink and sort of just mixed them together. So if that makes sense, that's how I got it. So hopefully you like it and like the look of it. I'm going to run this through the die cutting machine. So again, just going to grab the die cut that matches it. So I've got this floral image from the mixed florals. And then I need one of each of the little ladybug dies since I've got one of each of those. And I'm going to go run this through my die cutting machine. And I'll try to get them all done in one swing. It may take two with the little ladybugs. We'll see. All right. All right. Let's see what I can get done with the ladybugs. Oop. It always happens. I set one die down and another one goes flying. So, come on, ladybugs. All right. Hopefully I got this. And I think I got them all in one swing. Hopefully I didn't cut anything too crazy. This ladybug's a little crookedy, but we didn't cut any of them off, so I think we're good. There we go. Get that out of the way. So, oh, thanks, Judy. I will let him know that you all approved. Like I said, it was a little bit of a surprise. Like I said, I knew he was going to get one, but I didn't have any idea what it was going to look like. So there we go. All right. Got all my little ladybugs cut out here, as well as the big floral image. And we're just going to adhere those to the card front with some little mini glue dots, which are, by the way, this is my favorite adhesive ever. If I could only have one, this would be the one. So yes, sometimes they can shock us in a good way, Karen. So yeah, sometimes it's not always a good way, but all right. So using a bunch of little glue dots here, and we're just going to adhere the flowers to the card front. I'm starting with the flowers so that I know where they're going to land, and then I will stick the ladybugs around them just to make sure that I don't end up sticking the ladybugs anywhere in a strange spot that it's going to be covered up by the flowers. I think I'm going to do one more little glue dot here down towards the bottom of the stem just to make sure that everything stays in place. And then I'm just going to take this and adhere it right over the top of the other image that I've got here on the card front. And I'm going to smush it down pretty well so that the glue dots will stick well to the card front, as well as hold the die cut piece underneath it. And then I'm going to put my little crazy ladybugs, my flying one over here, and put this little ladybug that's crawling over here over the top of this side of the die cut. And again, the glue dot's going to hold that down. And I'm going to wait to put this one on until we're done with the sentiment so that I know exactly where I want him to be or her to be. So sentiment is next up. I've got a little piece of petal pink cardstock and the sentiment from the Mixed Labels stamp set. And we're going to just stamp it in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. I went kind of round and round trying to decide what I was going to do for color on the sentiment. And finally, I just decided, you know, there's a lot of black on this card already. I think black would be a good color, and I just stuck with that. So I thought about heat embossing it. So if you want it to be a little lighter, you certainly can heat emboss it with some white embossing powder or something like that, and it would certainly lighten it up a little bit, but it just kind of depends on what look you're going for. So I've got the dies here from the Wild Ferns dies, almost forgot the name of them, and it fits pretty much perfectly right around this sentiment, so I'm going to go run it through the die cutting machine. Maybe. Come on. All right, there we go. And I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this to the card front. Oh, almost threw my adhesive on the floor. That would not have been good. Just going to grab 3 little half Stampin' Dimensionals. I do chop my dimensionals in half. If you don't love that, you can certainly use whole dimensionals. I just like the half ones because I feel like they fit better in most places, and they stick just as well too. So that's why I use them. And then I'm just going to take this and stick it down here near the bottom of my arch die cut and give it a good smush. Again, just making sure that I'm sticking everything to the card front well. And then I've got my final little ladybug and my glue dots here. So I'm just going to take a glue dot to stick that final little ladybug on. And we're just going to stick it right above the sentiment here. I must have my flowers up a little bit higher on my original card. He kind of blends in, but I think it's all right. Okay, last thing on the card front is I've got some of the low profile dots, and these are also part of the suite of products, part of the Mixed Media Florals suite. And again, you can buy them individually if you love these little flat embellishments like I do. You don't have to buy the whole suite to get them, but if you're going to get the, I think you're going to want the whole suite. So just get the whole suite and then add a couple more packs of these on because they're flat and they're nice and they're, love that they're self-adhesive. So I just picked 2 of the little petal pink ones and stuck those there near the sentiment. And that's it for the card front. So super easy, just a little bit of coloring, a little bit of die cutting, and card front is all done. And it's really easy. Like I said, these images to me are super easy to color. Don't require a lot of thought or concentration. You just kind of add the color where you want it to be and call it good. All right. On the inside of the card, I kept it super simple and just with a little piece that I had trimmed off from the card front when I was making it, a little piece of the Designer Series paper from the Mixed Media Florals Designer Series paper. And just going to use a little Stampin' seal to adhere this to the cardstock. The cardstock is cut to about 4 by 5 1/4, and this is actually about 1/4 of an inch longer than it needs to be, but just sticking it together and trimming it here. Karen, you don't have this one yet? You definitely need to get it. Add it to your order right now. Don't even wait. Just go add it, and then it'll be there when you put your order in February. So, all right. Whoop. I ran out. I knew I was getting close to the end. Thankfully, have a little reserve here on hand. Stampin' seal, we're just going to adhere this to the inside of the card base. And all the measurements and details for this will be out on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. So don't worry about writing down any of the cardstock cuts or any of that stuff. There'll be a link to the PDF tutorial so that you can recreate it. I will link directly to the blog post once it goes live around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on Saturday. So you'll be able to find all the details out there on my blog tomorrow. So, hey, Amy, no worries. You can always catch the replay if you want to watch it. Otherwise, come look at the blog post tomorrow and you'll be able to get most of the details off it too. So, all right, so that is the card for today. Again, the bundle is called Mixed Floral Stamp Set Bundle. The suite is called the Mixed Media Florals Suite. And the suite includes the Designer Series paper, the 2 bundles, embellishments, and I think there's ribbon or something in it that I didn't use. But anyway, so definitely it's a beautiful suite and you'll want to get it. It's part of the online exclusive, so don't be confused. It's not in any of the catalogs. You go out to the online store and you can find it out there. Don't forget Celebration is going on, so you get free product for every $60 in merchandise that you order from Stampin' Up! Between now and the end of February. And don't forget about the great joining promotion. If you want to get the demonstrator discount for yourself, you can get it. It's, there's no requirement to sell to anybody, no requirement to do videos. Just join as a demonstrator, get the discount for yourself, and then you get to be part of our team. So, all right, let me know if you have questions about anything. I'm happy to tell you any details, happy to chat with you. And we will plan to be live around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Tuesday, and then again around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Friday. Until then, have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all soon.